Hello, everyone. Uh, Hello, Kate. Hello, Ali. Hello, Nick. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being present at Freedom Business Summit 2026 edition. Hello, Matt and Kate. Thank you for organizing a great panel. We are about to start our day two of Freedom Business Summit. And before we start, I just would like to make a short introduction about our current panel, and especially I would like to present you, Kate, as a director at Newland Chase, where you focus on citizenship investment programs, especially around the Asia Pacific region. And it would be great to hear all your experience about Australia and the New Zealand programs. It's for the first time that we have this topic at Freedom Business Summit edition. And I believe that Australia and New Zealand is at strong interest from our audience. At least that's type of data that we received during registration, and when many attendees submitted global mobility score, we definitely see a strong interest. So it would be great to hear more about all those opportunities that Australia and New Zealand can offer. So, Pete, thank you one more time for joining. Thank you, team, for joining. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Ali. I know that you're all based in different time zones, and it might be late, but I believe that's a type of business industry where we operate in, and the time zones are not existent for us. So let's start. And Kate, please welcome. Okay, I guess we cannot hear you. Just let me double check on sound. I guess there is no microphone access for your side. Kate, unfortunately, cannot hear you. Okay. Nick, Matt, Ale, maybe you can introduce yourself first before Kate starts.
I guess it's good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ellie. I'm an investment advisor in New Zealand. So I'm come here to support Kate for her presentation on the New Zealand Golden Visas investment scheme.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Matt, Nick, we can hear you. Kate, we cannot. Maybe you can try to log out and log in because system doesn't show that your mic is on. It's not muted. It's just not showing that it's on. Maybe it wasn't connected, or maybe just choose another microphone.
I'll introduce myself in the meantime. I'm Matt. I am involved in the business acquisition space in New Zealand. So I have a background in M&A. So I'm sort of going through the new visa that New Zealand has, which is the Business Investment Work Visa, which is an exciting new opportunity that's just come out in November.
Okay, thank you. Would be interested to hear about it. Hi, Nick. Thank you for joining us as well. Nick, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello, Nick. We are waiting for Kate to join. Unfortunately, there were some issues with connection. So while we are waiting for Kate, maybe let me start and we just make a short warm up. Considering that Australia and New Zealand investment and residency program, we've been in the market for investment migration for more than 7 years, and the most well-known programs from our observation are definitely Caribbean programs, are European programs, US programs, especially if you talk about inbound, outbound mobility. But related to Australia and New Zealand program, how long they've been in the market, and what are recent and upcoming changes that are happening? Maybe some new interesting programs been introduced recently. If you can elaborate on this a little bit.
Ali, you might be able to take the existing structures and I can take the new ones.
So our at the moment our AIP visa is the most popular one.
Could you please explain a little bit more how it works, what it includes?
Nick, are you able to talk about the current visa scheme? And I can just focus on the investment side.
I don't think Nick can hear us.
Nick, can you hear us? Matt, can you hear?
I can hear you fine.
So everything is fine, right? Because Nick cannot hear us. Nick, can you hear us? Could you please tell? Because we're actually live.
Do you want me to pick up on the new visa?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. Do you have access to the slide deck there that we can start to run through?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. If you go to
let me just bring slides here. So as you can see,
I'm near the bottom. If you go to the Beaver slides, then we can then I can start to work through those and talk about the visa and the sort of opportunities we see.
Okay.
So you might have to blast through a fair number of them.
Sure.
Right. I now have sound. You can hear me?
Yes, Nick, we can hear you. Amazing.
Fantastic.
So it might be better for Nick to take the floor then.
Okay. Should we go with the flow of presentation, or Matt, you wanted? Okay, we can see that Kate is here. Okay, Kate. We can hear you now. We can see you now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I've dialed in on my phone. My laptop wasn't cooperating. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
So we've been actually discussing. We just started to understand more in details all the opportunities that Australia and New Zealand can offer in terms of investment programs. And Kate, I guess you can lead the talk, right?
I can, of course. Should I kick off?
Yes, please.
Okay, amazing. Well, my name's Kate Vercoe. I'm the Managing Director for Newland Chase, our Australian and New Zealand branch. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Newland Chase, we're a global immigration services business. So we strategically partner with our corporate and private clients across immigration consulting services, as well as the end-to-end visa process management piece as well. It's a really timely opportunity for Newland Chase to connect with the US market about migrant investor options in the APAC region particularly. As I'm sure all of you are acutely aware, there's a lot of dynamic change occurring in the immigration space due to geopolitical, economic, and political shifts that have occurred. Some of the more traditional global mobility hubs are now sort of responding to all these changes, and we're seeing a real tightening of immigration requirements, coupled with stronger enforcement and compliance measures taking place in those locations, and governments really turning towards more introspective and inward-looking models of trade and doing business. And so for APAC, this represents a really amazing opportunity for our local governments to really strengthen our positioning globally, on the international stage, and to really try and attract some of that overflow and redirection of top talent, of cutting edge skills, and to really play a good role in bringing on board some of that investment and innovation strategy around investment for the benefit of cutting edge and growth sector development here locally. And so what we're seeing is that, the APAC countries, and for the purpose of this discussion, New Zealand and Australia are really are moving forward in that direction, and are really being a lot more open to investment and to that talent attraction piece, which is really wonderful. In terms of migrant investment opportunities, I think most migrant investors have been looking at global at golden visa options for quite some time. They've been very popular, very demand driven. I feel though that New Zealand is in particular is one of those countries that have recently really gained a lot of attention, and rightly so. The programs on offer here are very attractive, and they're very aligned with the very different motivations and drivers that are at play, and that are on the minds of migrant investors in wanting to take up investment options that are available. So today's discussion around New Zealand and Australia is really about looking into those available pathways, giving you a high-level understanding of what an immigration process in each of the jurisdictions looks like, and so that you can walk away from the discussion with a really broad understanding of what next steps would involve, who you could possibly reach out to, and if Newland Chase, through leveraging its global footprint and its wide-reaching connections both locally and abroad, can offer you a suite of services and an extension to various subject matter experts, such as the ones that we have on the panel today, then I think that's a really great start and a really great point of connection for everyone involved. So I wanted to just start the discussion just with a little bit of an overview of Australia. I won't talk too in depth about the Australian visa options, only because by comparison, New Zealand is the country that has the program of choice. But just for context and for comparison, I'll let you in on some of the detail around Australia. So Australia, for the longest time, had the Business Innovation and Investment Program in place. This was high demand, and it received a lot of attention and was quite competitive for some time. But regrettably, it closed to new applications permanently in July 2024. The reason for this shift was that the program wasn't achieving the objectives set out or for what it was designed to do. And the Australian government was really pivoting towards implementing a migration strategy that was geared around unlocking global talent, mostly through skilled migration channels. So that was the priority. There is some scope still to facilitate migration for investors and entrepreneurs, However, this has now been restructured under a new program, and it's principally the subclass 858 National Innovation Visa. The visa type that we have here, the 858, for the purpose of investment, one thing to note is that there's no actual investment threshold or direct investment required as part of a visa application process. Instead, the focus is rather on the migrant investor themselves. So it's really about their exceptional talent, their outstanding achievements, and their track record for driving innovation, for driving and leading and actively driving the investment exercises and ventures that they've been involved with offshore. So it's documenting through evidence that substantial skill set, that network and ties, and through doing so, establishing the capacity and associated benefit to Australia of supporting a visa grant to that particular individual. As part of the process, an endorsement needs to be obtained from an Australian individual or an organisation or government agency, and they're there to verify that the strength of the investor migrant's background, and also to establish that capacity piece. So it's really about what skills, what capital, what realistic and sustainable plans they can bring to Australia, and how they're going to align that with key growth sectors and priorities that the Australian government have in place, and the way that they are processing these applications through the methodology and infrastructure that's been set up to achieve the process design. The process involves two steps. So you submit an expression of interest. The government then, after having picked up and ranked the expressions of interest that are sitting in the system, review the claims made, and if they see merit in those claims, then they move towards issuing the migrant investor with an invitation to apply for an Australian permanent resident visa. Once that invitation is in hand, then you have 60 days to lodge the visa application and to document through evidence the claims that you have made. Importantly, permanent residence from an Australian immigration context means that you can come to Australia on an indefinite basis. You can work and study and have full enjoyment of travelling in and out of the country as needed. But one limitation is that it is subject to a 5-year multiple travel facility. So that means that you can travel in and out of Australia for the first 5 years, but to be able to continue doing so after that 5 years, you need to apply for a resident return visa. And to make out the requirements for that, typically you need to show that you've been lawfully present in Australia for at least 2 of those 5 years. So what this means is that once you achieve Australian permanent residence, to be able to continue enjoying that status and to maintain a pathway to Australian citizenship, the program is only going to really appeal to those migrant investors and entrepreneurs who really want to engage in active investment in Australia, rather than passive or arm's length investment. Another limitation for the program is that it is legislatively capped at 4,000 places, so it's not really demand driven. I said earlier that New Zealand has a much more attractive program that we can consider, which we will spend a little bit more time on. Just as we're talking about Australia, however, I just wanted to point out that through the New Zealand investor visa options and the access to New Zealand permanent residence and thereafter New Zealand citizenship, in a roundabout way, you are actually able to obtain immigration status in Australia. So all New Zealand citizens can travel freely to Australia. They can live, work, and study in Australia indefinitely, and they are able to obtain a direct pathway to Australian citizenship after a lawful period of stay of 4 years. So in terms of New Zealand, I'd like to focus my part of the discussion on the active Investor Plus visa, which is the primary investment program that is gaining considerable attention globally. However, later in the presentation, Matt, who's on the panel, will give you a little bit more of an overview of the Business Investor Work Visa, which, like the Australian visa option I just discussed, is more of an active investment type visa option. So with the active investor plus visa, there's two categories to be aware of. The first of which is the growth category. And this requires a $5 million, this is New Zealand dollars, $5 million investment in New Zealand, which can be done. So this is more high risk investments and typically done through managed funds. So managed funds appearing on Invest New Zealand's acceptable managed fund list, or alternatively, it can be direct investments. So these include the listed in investing in listed equities as a wholesale investor, or it could be an equity security such as company shares as an investee, or it can be another financial product such as a convertible note that can be ultimately converted into an equity security in an investee entity. One criteria here is that the $5 million investment must be held or maintained for a 3-year investment period. And it will be a condition on your visa that you must spend at least 21 days in New Zealand throughout that period, which for most investors is quite achievable. For the balanced category, the investment amount is increased to up to $10 million, and the investment period is also increased from 3 up to 5 years. However, there is a little bit more flexibility around how you're going to invest in New Zealand. So the range of investment complying investments that can be considered include equities, bonds, managed funds, direct business investments, property development, and philanthropy. Typically, a migrant investor will need to spend 105 days in New Zealand during the investment period under the balanced category. However, there is an option to decrease the number of days down to 65. 65 would be the minimum. And the way to do this is to invest more than $10 million. And so for every additional $1 million invested in New Zealand, and that the additional $1 million has to go to growth-oriented forms of investment, like the managed funds and the direct investments. Provided that's done, then every time you invest an additional $1 million, then you can reduce your number of days by 14 days. And so you can do that up to 3 times, bringing the total number of days down to 65. So we'll move on to the next slide, where we'll consider some of the requirements which apply across the two categories. So first of all, there's no age limit imposed for the program. There's also no English requirement, which is positive. You can include your partner or spouse in the application and any dependent children under the age of 24. Importantly, for the number of days that you must spend in New Zealand, the only applicant that needs to satisfy those days is the primary or principal applicant. Any dependent family members included are not subject to that requirement. The only requirement that they will need to meet is once the visa is approved, they will need to travel into New Zealand at least once within that first 12-month period. But other than that, it's quite flexible in terms of time in New Zealand. All applicants will need to meet health and character clearances. So that means attending an approved clinic to undertake chest X-ray and medical examination, and obtaining the relevant police clearances to show that you're of good character. Apart from understanding which funds you would like to nominate for investment, and working out your investment strategy for New Zealand, you also need to demonstrate to Immigration New Zealand the source of your funds. So this is an exercise around showing that your wealth generation has been through lawful means. So this is going to be, specific to the individual and case dependent. But some of the types of evidence that we would look at collating to support the application in this regard would be tax returns, pay slips, business financial statements, business shareholdings, dividends, receipts for property sales, bank certificates, share trading profits, evidence of gifted money or probate. For gifted money, it needs to be an unconditional gift, and ultimately the source of the funds still, the source of the gifts needs to have been acquired through lawful means. Also keep in mind that any asset valuations that are submitted with an application can't be more than 3 months old. One other thing just to highlight as well is that apart from the program being really flexible and catering to a range of drivers and motivations and accommodating all different intentions around investment, one thing that the New Zealand government has put in place very recently is that it's actually made it more flexible in terms of an investor's ability to purchase New Zealand residential property, which has been received a lot of attention lately. So, provided that you are willing to purchase qualifying New Zealand property to the value of $5 million, even if you're not, usually resident in New Zealand or you're living offshore, you can still go ahead and seek approval to make that purchase, which is really compelling. So this next part of the presentation is around the AIP visa process. So I wanted to walk you through here what the end-to-end process looks like and what each stage involves. So first of all, typically, a migrant investor would contact Newland Chase for an initial consultation. And it is at Newland Chase, we are really relationships based, and we like to really have an open and transparent conversation with our clients around their intentions. So it's really a goal-setting exercise, trying to get a full picture of what the migrant family wants to achieve through investment and migration. So we look at immigration needs, we look at travel and relocation preferences, family composition, if there's any immigration risks that need to be managed from the outset. We look at source of funds, how we would look at meeting evidentiary requirements, and then from piecing all of that together, as a partnership, we're able to then move into a more of a strategy phase. it's really important when working through the process that strategy is defined from the outset. It becomes when this isn't done correctly, moving through the steps can become much more complex than they need to be. And what happens is that the right stakeholders and the right providers aren't brought into the conversation when they need to be. So it's really important to get everybody on the one page and having the right team of people behind you to make this exercise as seamless, efficient, and stress-free as possible. And so that's what we aim to do early on as possible. So in the strategy phase, we're really looking at risk appetite and goals. We're working with you around the different qualifying investment types and what you might be comfortable in pursuing. We have a look at the time in New Zealand requirements and what makes sense for you as a primary applicant, having to logistically satisfy those requirements in due course. We select the investment amount and the category to apply under, and then we will then refer you on or bring into the conversation relevant third parties within the Newland Chase network. Also, if you choose to go under the growth category and you want to make a direct investment, then we may counsel you at that stage to seek Invest New Zealand's pre-approval of your investment strategy, which is really important to do well before an investment is made and an application is lodged. Moving into the application preparation stage, it's here that we leverage Newland Chase's proprietary case management technology, which we would give you access to. This is a really user-friendly, intuitive tool. It allows you to upload documentation in support of your application in a really secure way. It provides you with a timeline of all the different steps involved in the process, and our consultants update the technology in real time. So you always know exactly where you are in the process and who is owning the next step or responsible for the next step. In terms of document collation, you'll receive questionnaires and checklists that are easy to follow, really comprehensive guidance. We're always available on the phone or through email, whichever is your preferred mode of means of communication, to try and move things along in really good timing. We would collate all the documentation, review it against immigration law and policy. We provide feedback, give you suggestions around some further information you might want to supply to the immigration department. We'd complete all your forms and send them to you for review. And our aim is to compile the application in a way that is as decision ready as possible, so that when the Immigration New Zealand case officer picks it up, they have a covering submission outlining the key criteria that needs to be met, how that applies to your particular situation, and what evidence you have pulled together in support to demonstrate that you satisfy those requirements. And typically we find that when a case is handled in that way, processing is quite smooth, and it limits the amount of back and forth with the immigration department around additional types of documentation that they might need to move forward with a decision. When we lodge the application, there is a government lodgement fee, which is around $27,000. This fee is exclusive from any legal fees that you may need to pay in support of Newland Chase or any other third parties' support in helping with managing the process. Once the application is lodged, it usually takes the Immigration Department about 4 months to work through the application and to issue what is called an approval in principle. Essentially, an approval in principle means that you have met the requirements of the application, and the evidence that you've supplied is at a high standard. And so now the next step or direction from the Immigration Department is for you to transfer your nominated investment funds to New Zealand through the banking system, and to attribute those funds to a qualifying investment. From this stage, if you wanted to travel to New Zealand to oversee the investment being made, you can certainly do that. However, we would need to apply for a specific purpose work visa to help facilitate that movement. Immigration New Zealand provide you with a period of 6 months to make your investment. If, however, you require an extension of time to achieve that goal, that can be applied for, and there is discretion to afford you a further 6 months if needed. Once you've transferred your funds and you've applied them to the qualifying investment, some documentation around that needs to be pulled together and submitted again to the Immigration Department for consideration. Once they're satisfied that everything is in order, that then provides them with the authority to then go on and issue you a residence class visa. It's important to note here that your investment period, whether that be 3 years under the growth category or 5 years under the balance category, will commence from the date you've completed your investment. So it's a little bit separate from, say, for example, your visa start date. So once the Immigration Department then issues your residence class visa, you will, as I said earlier, need to travel into New Zealand within the first 12 months. And that visa will be issued with a travel facility. So if you've applied under the growth category, you'll get a 4-year travel facility. If you've applied under the balanced category, you'll get a 6-year travel facility. That can be extended upon application. However, in most cases, once you've maintained your investment for the requisite period of time and you've completed your number of days in New Zealand as part of the requirements, then most migrant investors will move towards applying for permanent residence in New Zealand. A permanent residence for New Zealand immigration purposes is slightly different from Australian permanent residence and permanent residence elsewhere. So for most investors, New Zealand permanent residence fits the bill and is really exactly what they're looking for. It does continue to provide the pathway to New Zealand citizenship if needed, but for all intents and purposes, the flexibility and security that most investors are looking for will be achieved with New Zealand permanent residence. And Nick on the panel will highlight this further in his discussion very shortly. My final point here, just in terms of the end-to-end process, is that once you've got your permanent residence visa in hand, or your residence class visa first, and you need to maintain your investment before getting permanent residence, there is a little bit of compliance tracking that needs to be undertaken. This is managed through Newland Chase's system, and also the Immigration Department reaches out at key milestone dates to ask for evidence to show that you're continuing to meet your visa conditions. So really, it's just an exercise of gathering evidence so that you're maintaining your investment and submitting it at appropriate intervals, which we would track and help you manage. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of the end-to-end process and how Newland Chase would partner with you throughout each of the steps. But of course, towards the end of the discussion, if you have any questions or you feel uncertain about how your particular circumstances play into it, or if it is the right golden visa for your family situation, of course, we are always open for consultation, and would love to understand your needs and how we can work to achieve your individual investment goals as required. So in saying that, I might now move on and hand over to Nick, who will take us through some of the amazing benefits of investing and migrating to New Zealand. And I couldn't think of a better person to walk you through this topic. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Kate. Right, next slide, I think. Great. I'll cover off 3 areas. Just why New Zealand? Why on earth would you choose New Zealand? Also, I'll cover off tax, just a very important point, and also a little bit more about the permanent resident visa, which is quite unusual globally, and its quality. It's very high quality. The New Zealand government really does welcome people. Let me go back a step. I spent 10 years with the border regulator, Immigration New Zealand, promoting and attracting the investor visa. Prior to that, I worked for the equivalent of the SEC, Financial Markets Authority in New Zealand. And before that, I spent several years, a number of years in several countries as a trade and investment diplomat in Asia, representing New Zealand at various embassies. Anyway, moving on, the visa that is offered, Active Investor Plus, has been enormously in demand. There are over 600 applications so far. It's not even been a year. It's almost a year that it was launched. And about a third of those applications are coming from the United States. 222 out of 609 applications so far. So the USA has looked at New Zealand, or people from the USA, and said, well, New Zealand's the right place for them. Now, why would that be? Well, I guess that when you're looking at where to go, where to build a future, you're really trying to find the answer to the questions of, where is risk lower and opportunity real? In which case, I think you should consider New Zealand, and I'll explain why. New Zealand's globally recognized for the quality of life, safety, and institutional trust. It ranks 3rd in the world, on the World Peace Index. It's consistently placed in the top tier worldwide for low corruption. And it also ranks 6th globally for the rule of law and 1st in the Asia Pacific region. Well, that really means, in simple terms, the system works, the rules are enforced, and trust is real. Next slide, please. Okay, so New Zealand also offers one of the world's most remarkable natural environments. Around 40% of the country, or the land, is protected. And last year, more than 85% of electricity generation came from renewable sources: hydro, geothermal, wind. In fact, the last quarter of last calendar year, 93% of our electricity was generated from renewables. Now, that's not a future goal. That is already happening. It positions New Zealand really strongly as, global capital shifts towards sustainable, climate-aligned economies. Healthcare and education are core national strengths. New Zealand provides universal public healthcare. A friend of mine is an American living and working in the health system in New Zealand. She's a psychiatrist. She loves the fact that she can prescribe treatments for her patients without negotiating with an insurance company. So that's public healthcare universally provided. Anyway, it consistently ranks among the top OECD countries for education and tertiary participation. Qualitatively, our universities are ranked in the top 3% globally, with several of them in the top 1%. Life expectancy remains high. The average is around 83. That's life expectancy. Obviously, pluses and minuses. And human development really remains strong. So New Zealand is a country that invests in people, not just infrastructure. I mean, work matters here, but so does life. And New Zealand is regularly recognised as a global leader for work-life balance. Strong worker protections are in place, flexible work practices and a culture of trust make it increasingly attractive to global talent. A lot of founders have established here and mobile professionals. So economically, New Zealand is relatively stable, resilient and trusted. It remains low sovereign risk. I think AA+ is the rating at the moment. A highly sound banking system, largely owned by the Australians, but it's very sound, and an independent central bank which regulates the banking system and sets an independent system to deal with inflation. So through global shocks, and aren't there lots of shocks at the moment, the economy has remained relatively steady because of the institutions behind it, and which are transparent and well disciplined. So investment rules are clear, property rights are strong, contracts are enforced, courts are independent, and this is why New Zealand consistently ranks among the easiest places in the world to do business. It's predictable. Investors know the rules and they don't change unexpectedly. New Zealand is deeply connected to the global economy. It has free trade agreements covering over 70% of its global trade. That includes access to China, the European Union, United Kingdom, and importantly, the wider Asia-Pacific region. For businesses that are based in New Zealand, that means preferential access to more than half of global GDP. So the opportunity is strongest in high growth sectors, technology, clean energy, food and agribusiness, advanced services. So New Zealand's tech sector is one of the fastest growing parts of our economy. It's about 8% of GDP. Its agribusiness sector is globally competitive and increasingly innovation led. So few countries combine both of those things effectively. New Zealand is ranked third in the world for the number of annual orbital rocket launches, believe it or not, behind the USA and China. So that's usually, well, that's one company, Rocket Lab, which is listed on the New York Exchange. Next slide, I think. Oh no, I think we're okay. Leave it where it is. Take a back, my bad. So on the next slide, I just want to summarize. New Zealand is a long-term sustainable option. It's entrepreneur friendly. It's with strong international partnerships, a place where people and capital thrives. Tax, what do they say? Death and tax are inevitable. So the tax system in New Zealand is something that you need to understand. And at this point, I would just emphasize you should take some advice on your tax position so that you are compliant both in the USA and New Zealand, just as you should take advice on dealing with the immigration process. It's complex and you need an expert like Kate to deal with that. You also need an expert in the investment front to make sure that you stay compliant with the visa through your investments. And that's where I think Ali is very much a professional in that area. But look, just on tax, the system is comparatively simple. It's transparent and relatively competitive. You know, the top personal tax rate is 39%. The company rate is 28%. And we have a goods and services tax, a GST. That's a consumption tax of around 15%. Now, the no's are more important. So if you want to take a note, in New Zealand, the tax system, there is no general capital gains tax. There is no gift tax, no wealth tax, no inheritance tax, or estate taxes. There's no stamp duties, no payroll, or social security taxes. So the no's outweigh the yeses. New migrants also benefit from a 4-year transitional tax exemption. on your foreign sourced income. You're taxed on your New Zealand income, but your foreign sourced income can remain tax exempt for just over 4 years. But again, you know, that sort of reduces the friction at exactly the right point where it matters most, when you first arrive for the first several years. However, you really must, and I emphasize this, you must seek tax advice in advance to ensure that you qualify in advance for that tax exemption. It's important. By the way, there is a double tax agreement between the USA and New Zealand. So New Zealand offers true long-term certainty. Permanent residence, as Kate said, can be obtained under the Active Investor Plus pathway after 3 or 5 years. Residence is granted indefinitely. So once permanent residence is achieved, it's irrevocable. You could arrive after you've achieved permanent residence and disappear for 20 years and come back and you still have permanent residence. There are no renewals. One person who was a very senior official in an Asian country approached me and my team saying, look, I can only be a citizen and achieve my next promotion. Can you revoke my permanent residence, please? I'm not allowed to have it. And my advice was, well, unless you go out and murder someone, a capital crime, we cannot revoke your permanent residence. Jokes aside, permanent residents enjoy unrestricted travel once you're permanent, and you access the public healthcare education system. You can vote in our elections. In fact, even when you've got a conditional resident visa and qualifying under the Active Investor Plus for 3 years or 5 years, you can actually vote in our elections as well. So it's not a temporary status, it is permanence. So when you're looking at the full picture, quality of life, safety, sustainability, relative economic stability, global access, and long-term certainty, New Zealand stands apart. It's a country where institutions are trusted, policy looks forward, and ambitions welcome. New Zealand is not just a good place to live or invest, it's a place to really build a future. At that point, I will leave you. Thank you. Ali.
Yes. So my name is Ellie. I'm from JBWere. I'm an investment advisor in New Zealand. I'm here to talk to you about the active investment visa, the investment components. And generally, a lot of investors might wonder when is the time you should talk to an investment advisor. If you apply for a balanced category, I think you can come and see me after you got the approved in principle letter and you are ready to invest, because the balance category is relatively simple. So for balance category, the basic case scenario is you can invest in New Zealand government bonds. It's nice and simple. And we have noticed that for investors who chose this category, so far, the majority of their investment actually went to New Zealand government bonds, with a really small number of uptake in shares, because the share investment is required. You have to invest in New Zealand shares. And we also observe that although you can invest between 1 to 3 million in acceptable managed funds for reducing the days, but this had not been really utilized. I haven't really got any investor inquiry about what they can invest, therefore reduce their days stay. I guess by the time you invest 3 million in managed fund, you might consider to go to the growth category. Then you invest in 5 million, and then the day reduction is more significant. So far, we have majority investor come in and invest in the growth category. That have been really popular. I think the statistic-wise, the number of people invest in growth category and balance category is about 4 to 1. So what can you invest in the growth category? You list invest in $5 million. And New Zealand government actually maintain and publish a list on their website that and on all the eligible managed fund assets. So what are they? They are, all of them are wholesale private asset and private. So they are really similar to what you can access and private asset in the US. We have VC and we have PE, we have private credit, we have real asset and infrastructure. That I believe majority of the US investor, they would have seen at least one or two of those asset class. So in New Zealand, all those asset class operate very, very similar to what the industry has operated in the US. So at the moment, our policy is really simple. So of all those funds, that there's no restrictions. So you are allowed to commit to any combination of the funds in the approval list. So, but what we have seen so far is investors quite concentrate their investment into private credit since this new visa investment scheme started from April last year. But in the recent months, we had noticed that this trend has changed, mostly because in New Zealand, private credit industry is only 5 to 6 years track record. So therefore, we have increasingly seen investors willing to diversify into other asset class. For example, VC and PE have been getting more and more tractions. Next slide, please. So what are other practical considerations you can consider? And I talk about that when you're going to see investment advisor, and I would say that if you invest a 5 million growth category and you had consult, for example, with Kate, and you say, I really like this $5 million category scheme, the growth then you can come and talk to me about, hey, what's investment available at this stage, because that's your pre-application stage. We'll go through what's available in New Zealand in a quite a general sense. The reason being that at this stage, you are not ready to invest yet. The New Zealand government's pool management list is changing on a day-to-day basis. So the fund available today may not be available for you to invest by the time you get your approval in principle. So at the early stage, you just need to understand what's available in general. And post that, when you got approval in principle, then you come and talk to me on more detail what you can invest in. So what we generally see, something I would like to remind a lot of US investors, is we frequently see some client that their nominated assets for the investment are their US share portfolios. And a lot of investors that only realize that, hey, by the time they got approved in principle and they decided, if they need to sell those shares, they may need to pay some tax in the US. And at that time, they will decide, oh, maybe I just do margin lending, which is allowed for the New Zealand immigration scheme. They do margin lending and lend across against the portfolio and then transfer the fund to New Zealand. This is why it's allowable practice. I would suggest if this is something you had in mind, I would think that I would suggest you to consult your tax expert and with Kate before you got approval in principle, rather than after you got approval in principle, you start this process. The reason being, after you got approved in principle, you only have 6 months to do your transfer of fund and invest. So we don't want to at that time that you might want to spend more time to understand what managed fund available, rather than thinking about, who am I going to get the margin lending from? Would they be approved by Immigration New Zealand? That will cost you more time, and that probably, if you're planning to do so, plan ahead is the best move. And once you got approval in principle, and then you and I can come and talk up, and we go through the New Zealand government approved fund list, and then you can decide what to invest. And most investors will be comfortable that talk to different manager online, and some would like to come to New Zealand for in-person meeting. This is something that we can discuss and narrow down your selection, because at the moment for the New Zealand government approval list, there are about over 60 funds available. So it's almost impossible that you would talk to over 60 fund managers. So we try to narrow down to a small selection, so then it's more manageable, and then you can interview those managers directly. Can we go back to the previous slides? So the other things that investors need to understand, that although this management, for 5 million category, the investment is only required for 3 years, but a lot of those managed funds, once you invest, doesn't mean that in 3 years' time you can get your money out. The 3 years is for your immigration period only. It doesn't refer to your investment, and each investment is different. So this is on a case-by-case basis, but as a rule of thumb, that you should not expect that you can accept majority of investment or 100% redemption post 3-year investment period. And I think a lot of investors, you may understand that for PE and VC, they are long horizon investment. The good thing about this investment scheme is, while you are doing the 3-year investment, the income and capital gains is withdrawable for your living costs. If there's any unfortunate situation that capital loss, Immigration New Zealand does not require you to top up to maintain your compliance. So that's quite a good idea. The other thing is, after 3 years, once your immigration requirements lift, that theoretically you may be able to sell your investment if you can redeem from your manager, but because those are private assets, the secondary market in New Zealand are very thin, so it's really hard to sell them. And you might think, oh, can I sell to the next investor who is doing this scheme? But unfortunately, with the current policy requirement that you are not, as a new investor, they can't buy secondary market unit for immigration approval, so they had to invest in new funds. So therefore, there wasn't a pipeline of new investors to take over your position. And along that fund itself may not be in the approval list at that time as well. So there's a lot of investors you consider. Once you invest in 5 million category, a lot of investment are more than 3 years. And then you need to really talk to an investment advisor, understand the risk, return, and the liquidity profile before you commit to those investments. So this is me. If you got any question, feel free to contact me post the event.
Thanks, Ali. I think we're running pretty short on time, so I'm going to attempt to explain a completely different visa and a completely different process in about 3 minutes. But if this visa interests you, what I suggest you do is that you email me. My email address is on the slides, and just subject line more info, and I can just send through an information pack which will go in a lot more detail than I can cover in this short space of time. So the business investor work visa came out in November, and it's sort of just designed for those investors who don't quite have the means for the Active Investor Plus. Ironically, this visa is aimed at an investor who's going to be far more active than someone under the Active Investor Plus visa, because it's sort of, to get this visa, you're looking at purchasing a small or medium business within New Zealand and running that on a day-to-day basis. So very quickly, I'll run through sort of the requirements of what the business needs to look like and you as an individual need to look like in order to be granted this visa. So in terms of the business, So you're looking at sort of 1 million plus value, New Zealand dollars, excluding property and taxes. There's actually two different sort of avenues. So there's 1 million plus allows you to get that residency in a 3-year period. And then if you're purchasing 2 million plus, it's actually only a 1-year period before you can apply for that residency. So it's quite a fast way. 10 minutes more. Okay. All right. I'll go to 5 minutes then, and then I'll leave Kate with the last 5. So there is those two avenues. So yeah, 1 million plus, you're looking at 3 years to get your residency, and 2 million plus, you're looking at only a year to get your residency or apply for your residency. The businesses need to have been trading for at least 5 years and need at least 5 full-time employees. Now, part of that getting that residency requirement and the conditions for that, one of the main requirements is that you are growing these businesses, and the way they're sort of measuring that is that FTE number. So you need to have added at least 1 full-time employee in the time that you have run the business. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at the potential opportunities out there, whether there is growth potential in it. In terms of the individual, so you have to be under 55 years old when applying for the visa. Doesn't mean that you need to be, if you're right on the edge, better get a hurry on. But before you apply, you need to be under 55. You need to show that you have 3+ years of business experience. So whether that's in management or running your own business. Similar health and character checks to the Active Investor Plus visa. But there is the added additional requirement around an English language. So that shouldn't be a concern for many people on this call, but it can be for others. You also need to have 500K of reserve capital in place as a condition. So there's a few more conditions than the Active Investor Plus, and it is quite a targeted visa. So it doesn't suit everyone, but we've seen 1 application nationwide yet, but we're very early on. And as you're probably picking up, there's quite a process in getting to apply for this visa, because you need to have sort of a business lined up for purchase at the point of applying, and we'll go through that process a little bit later. Again, source of funds is similar to the Active Investor Plus visa, so you need to have some good evidence around where those funds have come from, and that are through lawful means. I think we'll go to the next slide, which will cover just some of the opportunities we see. So we at Beaver, we have a number of businesses in the business acquisition space. So we run NZ Biz Buy Sell, which is the biggest listing platform for businesses for sale in New Zealand. And we also have a data company which collates business sales data. So we're sort of uniquely positioned to assist with investors looking to pursue this visa. So not a lot of detail here, but I thought I'd just give you some context on what we see as the opportunities on the market at the moment and what sectors they lie in. But basically, as you can see in this graph, there's a lot in this other category. So you've got professional services, construction, manufacturing, and then a whole host of others. Really, what we sort of see is that the opportunity selection is quite diversified. And what we try and do at Beaver is, the first thing we do whenever we get a referral from someone like Newland Chase is that we, assess what their level, where their area of expertise is, and how we can sort of cater our search for that area of expertise. So I guess what the slide is trying to show is that there's plenty of opportunity out there, and we're only at the beginning. It's not this visa is flowing sort of under the radar more so than the Active Investor Plus visa. So it's not really in the minds of a lot of business owners at the moment as a potential exit opportunity. So we're very, very early in the process. If we go to the next slide, please, probably the most important part. So In terms of how we help, so similar to the Active Investor Plus category, the investors will go to the likes of Newland Chase and be assessed on their suitability for this visa. If the BIV comes up as a good option, at that point Newland Chase would usually refer them on to us, and then we'll work in tandem with Newland Chase to take them through the sort of process that we typically follow, which shouldn't look very different from a standard business acquisition process. So again, once we receive the referral, we sort of do that questionnaire and work out what sort of opportunities the client's looking for, and then it's just a process of us going out to market. So we have our online portal, which we use to get a lot of opportunities through, and then we can also go out to the private market and see what opportunities exist out there. And then it's just about the clients working through those opportunities and determining if they're interested in any of those. We then sort of do some simple benchmarking with the data that we've got. We can assist with in-person meetings. Often we try and get them to have one or two opportunities at least that they're interested in. If they want to then come out to New Zealand, we can then assist in those meetings. And at that point, we try and get them to the point where they're ready to submit a sale and purchase agreement at the back end of that trip. And at that point, they're sort of ready to go through the due diligence process. So we work with some accountants and lawyers locally who also have an international presence, and to stand up basically a deal team to run that due diligence process and do the valuation which is required for the visa. So by that stage, it's quite a involved process to get us to the point where we're basically in the position we can make the application for the visa. So we need those things. We need due diligence done, financial and legal. We need a valuation completed, and then a business proposal. So we assist with managing the team in that respect, and then working alongside Newland Chase to make sure that we're in the best position possible when we're making that application. From then, it's obviously the sale and purchase is going to be conditional on granting of the visa. That's probably one of the big question marks in the industry at the moment, is how receptive sellers are going to be to that potential uncertainty of adding an additional condition around the sale and purchase of their business. But we haven't seen any initial resistance up front. So we're confident that this is going to be a good option for those sellers to exit. So basically, yeah, then once you've had your visa approved, it's that point that you'll get your settlement and ownership will transfer. It's a pretty standard process in New Zealand. Again, as Nick was saying, we have plenty of good legal structures around this, like everything else. It's just it's going to be quite a new thing for a lot of Kiwis to sort of wrap their head around this visa a little bit. But we're pretty confident that if we can wrap the right sort of professional teams around it, then we get ourselves in a great position where it becomes a good option for both the buyer and the seller. Great timing on the slide switch. That's all from me. Again, just send through an email, subject line more info, and I'll send you a pack that goes into far more detail. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you. Oh, technology is not my friend today. Oh, there we go again. I'm so sorry. I'll try and hold that up so it doesn't fall. Thank you, Matt, and thank you to all the panel that have joined us today. It's 4 a.m. in New Zealand, so they've really made an incredible effort to come out. I hope they have coffees nearby to keep them awake. But thank you to the Freedom Summit for allowing us to present to you all today, and we've really loved the opportunity to connect and share our experience working with the New Zealand investment programs. We hope that we were able to, really showcase just how attractive the programs are in the current environment. I feel like the program just increasingly is being picked up. It's really demand driven, and compared to some of the other golden visas out there, it's one to really strongly consider. So I think the key messaging here is be strategic, partner with the right providers, make sure you get all your ducks in a row early on, and then I think in terms of managing the process from start to finish, it should be a relatively straightforward, complex, removed, and enjoyable, and outcome enriched exercise. So thank you again, and please feel free to take a note of our contact details. All of us would love to connect at any opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for delivering such a great content. We are going to distribute it across our audience. And I know it's been late. We've slightly a bit out of time. And thank you again. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Elena. Elena, you're with us already. Thank you for your patience, and it's good to see you here as one of our also participants at Freedom Business Summit. I would like to make an introduction. Elena, we are moving today across different regions from Asia Pacific straight to European region, and just a short overview, Elena, about what you're doing. You're a qualified attorney specializing in real estate, citizenship by investment, focusing on Greece. And it would be great to hear your presentation today, focusing on Greece Golden Visa and all the options that Greece provides for investors in terms of qualifying for residency. Let me turn on your presentation, and basically you can start.
Okay, thank you very much. It is my great pleasure and honor to address you here today. Today we will talk about Greece. Please, the next slide. It's possible, yes. So today we will talk about firstly the residency by investment options, the so-called Greek Golden Visa program, which is very famous, has become very famous recently. The next part will be the relocation options, for financially independent individuals. These options do not require any kind of investment, also very interesting options. And the third part of my presentation will be the alternative tax regimes in Greece, some attractive choices that the Greek state offers for those who choose to relocate, to move from other countries to Greece. So before we begin, allow me to quickly provide you with some information about myself. Also, Dennis already provided you with some, but just to be... So I'm an attorney at law. I'm a member of the Athens Bar Association, so I'm based in Athens. I work with clients from different countries who are looking to relocate to Greece, to acquire European residency, to invest, to acquire citizenship, conduct business, invest in European assets, anything actually that you may need in Greece. I hold a master's degree in international business law from the Tilburg University of the Netherlands, with expertise in tax law in terms of multi-jurisdictional investments. Of course, if we're talking about investments in a foreign country, about relocation, taxation is very important. So it is a matter that comes first always, actually. And I'm fluent in 4 languages, which are English, Greek, Russian, and Kazakh. On the next slide, you may see the range of my services. These services are actually associated commonly with the relocation with the international transactions, international business activities. They include end-to-end legal support before during and after the investment or relocation, and generally legal representation before the Greek public authorities, before the Greek banks, before different Greek public-private organizations, actually anything you may need in Greece. So let us move forward to the first part of our today's discussion. The next slide, please. The Greek Golden Visa Program. What exactly is it? The Greek Golden Visa is the residency by investment program. It is a 5-year residence permit that is given to the individuals who invest in the Greek economy into one of several categories specifically listed in the law. The residency permit is indefinitely renewable as long as your investment in Greece is maintained. And of course, it gives you the right to limitlessly reside in Greece and to travel freely within the Schengen zone. The important point here is that this residence permit does not give market access. So you will not have a right to actively earn income in Greece. However, you may reside permanently in Greece, as I said, limitlessly, and of course, receive passive income from Greek sources, like being a shareholder at the company, for example, a Greek one, receiving, renting out your real estate that you have bought, receiving passive income from your financial investment, like banking products, etc. Some of them we will discuss today in more detail. A very important benefit of the Greek program specifically is that you have to do only one investment, and with this investment, you can get the residence permits for your whole family. Their residence permits will follow your own one, will give them the same rights as for you. So altogether, you may freely travel within the Schengen zone, you may reside in Greece, etc. And this residence permit can be almost indefinitely renewed as long, again, as your investment is maintained. Family members that can be added to the applications are spouses, children up to the age of 21, and parents from both sides of both spouses. There is also a separate renewal program for the adult children. So if you have a child who is already 21 and he has a golden visa, he can renew. And this separates residence permits is a more developed category, as it gives a right to work in Greece. This residence permit has the full market access. It means that they will be able to earn also active income in Greece, like from employment, for example, and passively, of course, as the main investor from other sources. This way, the Greek state grants actually a special transitional period of 3 years for those adult children who are looking to build their future in Greece, to actually relocate, to build a future family, etc. So within this period of 3 years, your child may find a job, may maintain it, and then renew on the basis of general provisions. And from that point onwards, he will actually enjoy all the rights that the Greek state may generally give, like public health insurance, like pension, like citizenship under conditions. Generally, if someone is searching for a place to relocate, Greece would be a great choice because, you know, it's a very nice country, it's very safe, nice climate conditions, friendly people. The market is open to investment. The market is actually developing very fast. So if you're looking for something like that, you should generally consider Greece and consider this program because it's very smooth, it's very nice program. So on the next slide, yes, thank you. You may see the list of investments that must be conducted for acquiring a residence permit. Each category has different, very specific conditions. We will discuss some of these conditions today. The most important here is a different threshold, the minimum required investment for each category of the investment. It starts from 250,000 euros. And these are the categories, we will see them. So you can invest in real estate, you can invest in financial products through banking institutions such as bank deposits, government bonds, mutual funds, alternative investment funds, listed securities, and Greek businesses. So let us move forward to the options more specifically. For the first option, you may change the slide, thank you. The first option is investment in real estate in Greece. It can be either acquisition of the ready-to-use property or under construction property, or you can also acquire a plot and plan a future development of the building by yourself, by the investor. It can also be a long-term contracts with future development, the long-term contract with future development of a complex tourist accommodation. The minimum required investment for the real estate means that the price you will actually pay for the property when you will acquire it. And firstly, it depends on the region. For Athens and for the whole area of Attica, for Thessaloniki, for most of the famous islands like Mykonos or Santorini, the minimum required investment is 800,000 euros. And for the rest of the areas of regions in Greece, the required one is 400,000 euros. It is important that you invest in the property with minimum 120 square meters. And it should be legally one and the same property for this value. It is not always clear which property is legally deemed one property. It can be 100% verified only upon the due diligence. The property must be also second-hand. You may go back, yes. The property may be either second-hand or acquired directly from the developer, or even under construction by the developer at the time of the acquisition. There is no limitation in this regard. Please move back to the slide because I have about the property. Yeah, thank you. I will tell you when I will for the next slide. Thank you. So, regardless of these two options, so which depends solely on the region, there is also a special exception in the law which has been introduced relatively recently. The cases where the residence permit may be acquired if you invest in the property of minimum 250,000 euros regardless of the region. Specifically, this attractive exception refers to the properties, firstly, the first option, that are converted from commercial to residential properties. For this specific option, there are lots of choices currently available on the market. Many Greek developers currently offering this option, so you pay actually 250K for the property and enjoy the same rights as you have as with any other property. Whether each of these choices that is on the market qualifies for golden visa or not, of course, it is a matter of serious legal due diligence because this option specifically is very complicated in the procedure. Here is everything is important, every legal detail, so it is a bit more complicated. However, if you have your trusted lawyer by your side, of course, this option is one of the most attractive, even maybe worldwide, I would say, because these properties for this specific category are normally fully renovated, modern, with great location. A really smart investment option, I would say, that will serve you and your family for many years because the property you actually use it. It is an asset that is for even maybe generations. So my firm offers end-to-end legal support in such kind of investments, and also I may refer you directly to the developers, many of them in the Greek market, that offer such kind of a project because as I said, it is something that has become recently, especially very, very famous in the Greek market. So I may refer you directly to them. You may choose the property that you like, and from that point onwards, I will ensure that everything is legally correct, that all your interests are fully secured, and the application, the investment go smoothly. And just for your better understanding, to conclude regarding this specific option, in the end, you invest in a modern, fully renovated apartment or house. This condition of conversion from the commercial to the residential, this is solely the legal condition. It is a legal history of the use of the property. Eventually, when you acquire this property, practically you will not see any difference in your apartment. So it is a nice option to consider. And the second option, again, for the real estate with the same minimum required investment of 250,000 euros. Cases where historical buildings are restored. There is an option to acquire one of the listed historically important buildings in Greece and to receive a golden visa under the condition that you undertake an obligation to restore them within the period of 5 years. As you understand, this option is not so famous in Greece because generally, because there is this additional condition that you undertake the obligation, and if you do not fulfill this obligation eventually in 5 years, your residence permit may be revoked, the fine will be imposed. So, of course, this is something more complicated in the procedure. But again, there are some options in the market, and some developers, some companies offered terms of cooperation which are rather attractive. So if you decide to invest in this property, it is also fine, meaning that with the correct and legally accurate planning, this option may also be considered. Your interests will be safeguarded in any case, but it is just something that in practice, it's a bit more complicated. And please know, regarding the real estate, a crucial restriction for the properties acquired under Golden Visa law. It is something, again, relatively new with the new Golden Visa law. They cannot be used for the short-term leasing through the platforms like Airbnb. They must be either used for the long-term residence for yourself or for short-term residence for yourself. And for standard rental process, for example. The investment return, however, if we are talking about investment in real estate, is still favorable because generally these new Golden Visa projects are of a high quality compared to general market. They are great. So in any case, you invest in real estate, you receive your income. Just something that's just to know that you cannot do an Airbnb no more in Greece. And to conclude regarding the real estate, sorry, and we will go to the next one in time deposits. Regarding the real estate, I would like to just point out some very crucial points. The first and the most important step in any real estate investment is the legal due diligence. It will verify the good order of the title deeds, the absence of any legal defects, of any encumbrances, of liabilities of the property, because you should always remember one crucial point. All the legal defects of the properties follow always the property, not the seller. So every future owner may own financial losses, even court proceedings, at any point after the acquisition if the legal due diligence is not conducted properly in the beginning before you even pay the deposit. And the problems are not solved in the beginning. It is very important. This point is to keep in mind generally for all the real estate acquisitions in Greece, and for Golden Visa specifically. it is also more even more important because in Golden Visa the process also plays very important role. The whole process must be overseen by an attorney who will ensure that all the conditions of the Golden Visa law are fulfilled at every given moment of time, because everything is important here. The compliance part is very important. The way you even transfer the funds to Greece is important. So everything is important for the smooth issuance and the renewal of the Golden Visa. It is just something to keep in mind before you start the process. And we are now moving forward to the next slides. Thank you very much. And these are the banking investment options, something completely different than the real estate, but also something that maybe should be considered by someone of you. The first and the most clear in the process, I would say the fastest maybe even, it is the bank time deposit. Here, the minimum required investment is 500,000 euros. You simply place the amount of this money and you log them on the bank account that have been opened in Greece specifically for you and specifically for this purpose. As long as you maintain the investment, as long as you keep this money locked, you can receive the Golden Visa. It is valid and it can be renewed. And annually, you receive the interest payments directly from the bank for this time deposit. It is a very fast option, as I said, in the procedure. It requires that you open the bank account. So before you open it, the bank will conduct all the compliance checks. From the beginning, you will open the bank account and transfer the funds and initiate actually the time deposit. The deposit, it is a good thing here that it may be liquidated at any point. Again, very fast. The money you investment, you receive them back. And of course, if you just get them back, your Golden Visa will be revoked. But if you reinvest it in another category, for example, in real estate again, within 2 months, you maintain the right to Golden Visa. It is a very flexible option. It's also a secure one, meaning that you're keeping your money in a European bank of your choice and enjoy the residency rights simultaneously. You can even minimize the risk almost 100% by splitting this investment of 500,000 among different banks in Greece. And this way, you just ensure that in an exceptional case of the bank bankruptcy, for example, which is an, that you will be receiving your money back in any case, considering that it is a European bank and there is a European deposit guarantee scheme for 100,000 euros per person per bank. So it is something that maybe excludes the risk 100%. Because you're not only protected by the Greek legislation in this case, you are protected by the European legislation, which is, of course, very important. We move forward to another option on the next slide. This option, the investment in government bonds, also interesting, but a bit more complicated in the procedure. Again, the same threshold of 500,000 euros. You invest in the Greek government bonds through the Greek banking institution. So in this case, again, firstly, we open a Greek bank account for you. Then you choose the specific investment. There are a lot of options generally for bonds that qualify for Golden Visa. The most important condition here, if you are going to proceed to choose the right government bond, is that they must have a remaining maturity of at least 3 years at the time of purchase, and of course that you must maintain the investment for the whole duration of the Golden Visa and for the renewal if you wish to renew it. It is an excellent choice for passive income. No active management is required from your side. Everything is managed by the bank. So the bonds actually are held in custody by a Greek bank. So also an option to consider. The next one, again, through the banking institution. Next slide, please. It is a more for, diversified approach, for a more developed investment portfolio. There is an option to invest in mutual funds or alternative investment funds in Greece. Here, the threshold changed. It is 350,000 euros, the minimum one. These funds, the most important condition here is that, of course, these funds must invest exclusively in Greece, in shares, in corporate bonds, in real estate. Again, there are a lot of options available currently. The procedure goes through the bank, as I said. You open a bank account and you choose your investment. So the process of the investment, the process of the management of this investment is also centralized, and it's managed by the bank. If we compare this option with, for example, the time deposit, which was the first option, the returns recently have been higher. Again, it's not a fact, it's not a guarantee, it's not a prediction, it's just an observation from our previous cases, recent cases, that these options, these funds have given more return, like investment compared to the previous option. But again, you never know what will happen in the future. It's just an observation, for your consideration. The next option is a very, very developed, I would say. It's for very sophisticated investor who indeed is working in this field, is investing, is searching the markets. The option to invest in listed securities. Here, the threshold, of course, is higher. It's 800,000 euros. You invest in listed securities of your choice. They are traded on the Athens Stock Exchange. Of course, it is regulated by the Hellenic Capital Commission. All the information is publicly available. Just a note here, it is a very, technical operational detail. You must maintain 80% of the funds in stocks or bonds always during the whole duration, and you can keep only 20% cash margin in the specific dedicated account to manage market fluctuations. If you are in the field, if you are interested in investing in stocks that are traded on the Athens Stock Exchange, of course, it is something that can be considered. And a small reference to Greek businesses. The next slide, please. Something new here, very relatively, again, new option which came with the new law. Investment in certified startups. The minimum threshold here is 250,000, as in the option we have seen with the real estate. So one of the lowest ones. It is a very creative option. Actually, you invest in one of the startups that have been specifically certified by the Greek government for this purpose. And these startups usually, they work with artificial intelligence, they work with new technologies. So for someone who especially works in this field in their country, it may be a very interesting option. And this option, because it is very new, it is very flexible. So you may consider this as well. And also one of the options, if you are planning to invest in Greece with your business partners, it is also an option to invest through the legal entities with your business partners. Very interesting option again. Here, the minimum required capital for each investor is 500,000 euros, but it's the whole scheme of investment if you're planning to invest with your business partners. All the above options, just to conclude regarding our first part of the presentation. All the above options have their own conditions and eventually their own results. It is important that you choose as an investor the option that aligns better with your goals. So whether and where to invest specifically is always a choice of the investor, and always with the help, of course, of his financial advisors who professionally assess the market, the risk of investment, and make a choice. And once you make a choice, I, as your lawyer, will ensure that all the legal conditions are fulfilled and the process is followed exactly as the law prescribes, that your investment is legally correct, that your application for Golden Visa is correct, and that you don't have any problems in the future with your migration status, with your tax status, with your ownership status in Greece. And the result of your investment, of course, as I said, is the residency in Greece, which gives you many, many rights. And the next slide, just for you to understand here, shows how my firm works with all the Golden Visa cases, regardless of the type of the specific investment you choose. We always start from the first assessment of the situation of the investment, consider all the following steps of the procedure just to understand and to inform, of course, the investor whether his or her case qualifies for one or more investment routes from the legal perspective always. Then we proceed with the signing of the power of attorney. It is a very important step as it allows me to represent you without the need for you being present actively in Greece always throughout the whole process. It is very important. So you may come to Greece eventually if you want, but there is no need for these preparatory actions for you to come. It is very important, especially for people who are not planning, to visit Greece so often, or maybe in the near future. Even the power of attorney actually can be signed in your country to ensure that all the process goes as smoothly, as easy as possible for you. Then, as your legal representatives, we proceed with the registration of your fiscal status in Greece, a very important step. As at this first step of the registration, it will define all your future tax obligation in Greece, will define and will affect eventually all your future activities in Greece, because as we have seen, the tax is very important. Together with this and afterwards, the relationship with your bank comes, of course, and a legally correct, effective compliance check process. Then you transfer the funds. Again, we ensure that you transfer them in accordance with all the legislation, the tax legislation, the financial, and of course, the immigration. The rules are very strict. The process must be closely monitored and guided always by your attorney. And after all these preliminary actions, we proceed with the investment, of course, itself, and the residency applications for you and your family together. After the application, of course, you still have the investment, so it enters the maintenance phase. And as your legal representative, we ensure that your legal and financial status is in full compliance with all the relevant legislation, and that your residency is safe and can be renewed as long as you wish it. This is for Golden Visa, as we said, and we move forward to the other relocation options that do not require any kind of investment in Greece. Also very strong and very popular program, very famous recently, and generally it is a famous program in Greece. The crucial difference here compared to the previously discussed residency by investment options is that there is a minimum required stay condition here. In the previous program, the Golden Visa, the only condition for renewal is to maintain the investment. As we have seen, you do not have an obligation to actually reside in Greece. Here, you must actually reside in Greece for at least 6 months every year, which of course affect your tax residency. For the tax, we will see later in more detail. In order to be able to renew the residence permit, you must reside in Greece. So it's good for someone who is willing to relocate indeed to Greece. And the second important difference compared to the previous categories of Golden Visa is the duration. As we have seen, the previous category has 5 years duration, renewed for the same period each time. And these options have different duration. They start with Visa D for maximum 12 months, and then can be renewed for 2 or 3 years, depending on the category. The good thing here is while you are in the process of renewing of your Golden Visa and receiving your new card, you receive a temporary residency permit for Greece. So you receive this certificate that will allow you to enjoy the same rights as this card, this residence permit card, will give you. So if you are looking to relocate, it is perfect. Just a note here again, these options do not give the right for employment in Greece. You still have the right to receive passive income from Greek sources, of course, to buy a small apartment, to rent it out, to become a passive member of a Greek company, to enjoy benefit from Greek banking products, for example. Here, we are not talking about massive investments that we have seen for Golden Visa, just small investments that you may want to get for stability and for additional income. This residence permit, of course, as any residence permit in Greece, give you right to freely travel within the Schengen zone, very important. And eventually, if you fulfill the conditions, there are conditions, but you may apply for the Greek citizenship, which is, of course, interesting. So let us move forward to the conditions of the several options. Thank you. These are actually 2 options, 2 categories. The first category is called financially independent individuals. The residence permit granted for 3 years. And the second category is the digital nomads, a residence permit that is granted for 2 years. They both have the most important condition of at least 3,500 euros salary per month net for one person. And if you're coming with your family, plus 20% for your spouse and 15% for each underage child. So very important, again, benefit of the Greek program is that you may relocate with your family, specifically with your spouse and with your children until the age of 18. The difference between these 2 categories is that financially independent individuals receive income from pensions, generally may receive from different sources, from company dividends, from rental yields, some fixed rate savings, etc. For digital nomads specifically, there is a condition that you receive income that originates from your employment, from your activities, from the companies, for example, that based abroad for the services that you provide online. So the digital nomads must actually work actively online, but not with Greece. It is very important that you do not provide your services to Greek residents. It is a very important condition. The documents and the procedure here required for these two categories are quite similar, and you must actually prove the stability and the compliance of your income through banking products, that's banking documents maybe better, that show that you actually receive them from corporates, from tax documentation, that you receive them legally, correctly, that you declare them and pay taxes in your country, etc. We normally assess the situation on a case-by-case basis for each applicant to better advise which category is better for the specific case, because the conditions and the rights are quite similar. So then we assess on the case-by-case basis which is better. For these specific options, just for you to keep in mind, it is important to initiate the process before you actually come to Greece. Also because all the documentation, everything is prepared from your country of residence. Of course, I will personally monitor the preparation, I will advise, I will review the documentation, but it is important that you are in your country when you decide to apply. And to close regarding the residence permits generally of these categories, and to move forward to the next topic regarding the alternative tax regimes. Just to inform you that recently, just in February 2026, we have had new provisions in the law, in the immigration law in Greece. Greece has introduced some more options for relocations, again, without any kind of investment. And there are many of them, and it's not possible to cover them within one presentation, but just for information, if someone is interested, he may contact me directly. So there are new provisions for talent visa. Talent visa is something completely new in Greece. It gives you right to come to Greece for 1 year to find a job in Greece for your profession specifically, and then renew. Also a new option, a very attractive one, is a tech visa, again for employment in startups. Also new, also interesting, also do not require any type of investment. Of course, I can assist you with all this option. You may just contact me directly and we will see which option is suitable for you, because generally Greece offers many options currently for relocation from different countries. So it's a country that you may want to consider for sure. And now we can move forward to the next topic of our today's discussion. Thank you very much. It is alternative tax regimes in Greece. So aside from general tax rates that Greece has as the state, Greece offers also some interesting, unique taxation regimes for individuals that have just moved to Greece or are planning to move to Greece. The first one is a lump sum regime, which is also commonly called, in practice, it is famous with this wording, like non-dom regime in Greece. It is through investment, so it is compared with golden visa. Not compared, it goes maybe together in some cases. And the second one is for pensioners from other countries also. The common condition here is that you are just moving to Greece now. You have not lived in Greece permanently for the last years. And also it is very important that these regimes are valid for only 15 years and cannot be extended generally. You may change the slide, please. So for the first regime, as I said, the lump sum regime, or the non-dom regime, as it is called, it is for the investors. This regime requires that you invest at least 500,000 euros into the Greek economy, again, in certain listed investments. Some of these investments listed are common with the golden visa. So if you would like to combine these two regimes, it is good to plan it from the beginning, just to be sure that you are in compliance with these two regimes, and then you may choose either to apply for this or not, just to be ready. This regime allows you to pay 100,000 euros tax per year, and it is for your foreign income, regardless of the amount you actually earn abroad, regardless of the sources of your income, meaning that a Greek state does not require that you, if you enjoy this regime, that you actually make the tax declaration declaring the specific sources, even though it is technically that you transferring your Greek your tax residency to Greece, so you would have had this obligation normally, but with this regime you do not have this obligation. So this is the first alternative regime in Greece, very popular recently for the investment from different countries, and usually for people who earn income from different countries, and it's a bit of a tax planning, interesting regime, and one of the unique ones worldwide. And the second one, yes, thank you. The tax regime for pensioners, for people who are retirees and who are willing to relocate to Greece. This one can be combined with the residence permit for financially independent individuals. It requires that you receive the pension abroad. The amount of this pension does not play any role, just only the fact that you have the status that you receive the pension. And in this case, you are entitled to become the Greek tax resident and to pay only 7% of the tax for your whole income abroad. It is very preferable option, because it refers to the all income, not only to the pension that you're receiving, but also to rather other categories, like from companies. Maybe you have some shares in companies or renting the apartments. All of this will be taxed with 7%. It is a very attractive, a very unique option. Important for these two regimes, and for this one and for the previous one, is that the Greek income, if you have any Greek income, is taxed separately. So this this percentage and that lump sum refers only to your income abroad. Just to conclude, as I have said generally, all of these are internal general Greek law provisions. Whether they are applicable in your case, and if which is can we go back, please, because it's about, yes, thank you. So whether they are applicable in your case, it is a matter of legal research and correct legal planning, because as you understand, if you come from another country, if your income is from another country, then there are also international treaties. For example, of course, there are double taxation treaties that are applicable. So each case must be assessed separately and specifically in order to determine the suitable route and the legal implementation for you specifically. But still, these options that the Greek state offers are very nice to consider. So to conclude, I would like to leave you with one fundamental insight. Navigating the Greek landscape is a rewarding but a very legally complex journey. There are a lot of implementations of any activity that you make. So whether you are managing real estate, investing in just investing, relocating, navigating tax regulations, it is very important that you have always active legal presence of your attorney. It is not a bureaucratic requirement, it is your safety net in any case. And of course, I'm here to provide you that protection. You may go to the other slide. These are my contact details. If you have any questions, if you would like to learn more about any of these options to understand whether your case qualifies for one or more programs, whether it will be preferable for you, you may contact me directly, visit my website, and we will schedule the next steps. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Freedom Business Summit, for this unique opportunity. I hope
Elena,
this was
thank you.
helpful.
Thank you a lot
Yes.
for delivering presentation. I've been listening the entire presentation, and I'm really surprised that Greece has so many options, especially that visa that you mentioned for financial independence, and also visa for like related to tech business to startup. And from my own experience, I understand that sometimes you can have a real use case, but you definitely need a local person like you who can help to put everything as a legal case, to submit documents in the right order, to advise on something. And I understand this is exactly what you're doing.
Yes, correct. It is what I'm doing. It is very important that I provide the legal support. It's not just a person on site. It is important that all your steps are overseen by a legal representative, by a lawyer, actually an attorney who is specialized in immigration law specifically, and of course in taxation also, because it is an international activity. It is very it has very serious tax implications.
Understandable. And another question: in most cases, when people apply for residency, how does it convert to citizenship?
In order to receive citizenship in Greece, you must actually reside in Greece. It is very important. So if you prove that you indeed want to relocate to Greece, that you have already resided in Greece for the years that you have your residence permit, and that's the Greece, actually the law requires that Greece has become the center of your vital interest. And what it means that you speak Greek, that you have Greek friends, that you have sources of income in Greece also. And it is assessed as the full picture, and of course, very important for the investors and for people generally who are looking to relocate, is to understand that you will need to pass an exam on the. It is in Greek language, and it is on the Greek culture, history, um, generally about Greece. It is a rather difficult exam, but for people who indeed relocate to Greece and indeed have made Greece their home, it is something that is possible, and we have many cases from people who have actually received Greek citizenship on this
So
basis.
basically, you have to domicile yourself.
Yes, you have to. Yes,
Okay.
make Greece your home. It is important.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Alina, for presentation. So we are
Thank you
going
very
to
much.
wrap it up, and after we are going to send a follow up to all attendees who maybe for some reason missed the talk. We are going to put the main outcomes, and we'll make sure that everyone will receive all those details. And as of right now, I would like to invite Roberta to join our conversation. Hi, Roberta. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you for joining our forwards to hear more about Malta
Sure.
as a residency destination. Just let me just figure out the main the main screen. What
Sure,
we
sure,
do.
sure.
And while we are preparing,
Yes.
we've been talking over the last 2 days all about different jurisdictions, Asia Pacific, European jurisdictions, Caribbean jurisdictions, and Malta. even data that we received from registered attendees for the event, we can tell that Malta is definitely gaining traction, and it would be highly relevant to hear from you, as you've been dealing it on a high level approach. You see the big vision as a Residency Malta agency representative. I'm giving a word to you.
Thank you.
Share about all the opportunities, all the options that exist in Malta. Also, just maybe to simplify it, we have your presentation uploaded.
Yes.
But maybe if you can share it from your screen, because I know that you have a video that you would like to play.
Okay.
I think it would be easier.
Let me try and see how to share the screen.
Yeah, just click arrow up button, and you'll be able to share your screen and your presentation. It should be quite easy.
Okay, amazing, yes. So, okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see a presentation.
Okay, let me just start from the very beginning.
And maybe you can make it a full screen.
Yes, let me. Is it fine like that? Can you see it?
Looks good.
Amazing. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be part of this very interesting summit. As you well said, yes, Malta is definitely gaining a lot of prominence from all over the world for various reasons. And I hope that through this presentation, I can portray what these reasons are. So, as a matter of introduction, I am Roberta Rodoligo, Head of Client Relations and Compliance at Residency Malta Agency. And as an agency, we administer 3 residency by investment programs. These are the MPRP, Malta Permanent Residency Program, the Nomad Residency Permit, and the Startup Residency Program. So through this presentation, the aim is to walk you through the application process of these 3 programs, the eligibility criteria, what you require as an investor, and what the benefits are. I'll try to keep it quite short as much as possible, but of course, please feel free to ask any questions at any point in time. So I'll start with the first program. It is I would say, the most popular program that the agency administers. And it is so because, first and foremost, because of its jurisdictional strength. So what does this mean? It means that the very first attraction of the program is Malta itself. As well, its value proposition, its benefits, the benefits of the MPRP, and the smooth application process, because we process the application in just 4 months, which is very well placed also internationally, I would say. So we said that Malta is what attracts individuals. Here are a little bit of statistics about Malta. It is part of the European Union, part of the Schengen zone, which means that a person acquiring a residence permit through our programs will have access to the Schengen area for 90 days every 180 days. It is part of the Eurozone. It is also part of the Commonwealth. It is very important to note that there is an ease of business in Malta because one of our official languages is, in fact, English. So it's very easy to also conduct business in the English language. The population is rather small, is that of 575,000. The GDP per capita is of 43,000. Its capital is Valletta. Now I will show you a short video about Malta, which will give you a better idea, of course, of what we're talking about.
Malta, a Mediterranean island full to the brim with the promise of opportunity An opportunity for a better quality of life, a safer place to live, and a thriving economy. Known for its crystal clear blue waters, golden beaches, and lively nights, Malta is more than a destination. It's a place to call home, a place to live, work, study, and do business. As an EU and Schengen member, Malta is the perfect base from which to explore Europe. And with English as an official language, settling in is simple. Maltese people are well regarded for their hospitality, fostering a warm community spirit for foreigners and locals alike. Here, life flows at a Mediterranean pace, where family and community values are at the heart of everyday life. Ranked among the safest countries in the world, Malta offers peace of mind for families, together with world-class healthcare and education built on the British model. Our 400-year-old university attracts students from around the world. Education and opportunity go hand in hand with a rich cultural landscape. Beyond its beauty lies depth, centuries of culture and history seen in our citadels, temples, and colorful traditions. With over 300 days of glorious sunshine, you'll find plenty of time to explore culture and heritage. For slower moments, the sister island of Gozo offers rolling hills, quiet villages, and breathtaking coastlines. Yet Malta is also a place of progress, a hub for innovation, business, and opportunity, backed by a strong, stable economy and low unemployment. So, if you're looking for a place where modernity meets history, where adventure meets peace of mind, where a fast-growing economy meets an unhurried pace of life, the answer has never been more obvious. Malta, the right choice for your families tomorrow.
I hope that through this video, I already convinced you to visit Malta. So now I will go through the MPRP. And the MPRP, it has been established since 2016, so it's quite an established program. It was previously known as the MRVP, but here it's very important to note that although there were certain changes from the MRVP to the MPRP, the core benefits and the core values of the program always remained. So they were changes that were implemented to be more appealing to individuals and investors, of course, so to make it, of course, much more appealing. It is a robust program with a strong legal basis, so it's based on law. It is run by a dedicated government agency, by ourselves. This is a very important thing to note because it is quite unique, I would say, in the industry. And it shows that the government of Malta really invests in these programs and takes them very seriously by creating a dedicated government agency. It is a client service agency, so we pride ourselves of a top-notch client service, and we are based, our reputation is based on integrity, transparency, and stringent due diligence. So even our client-centric approach does never compromise our due diligence. The MPRP is based on investment in property. You can either rent or purchase a property. This is also very important to note because it gives flexibility to the applicant to not just purchase a property, but also to rent or perhaps start by renting and then go on to purchase. So it gives that sense of flexibility. Contribution to the government, a very minimal donation to a local NGO, and an administration fee. So it's rather straightforward. What are the features of the MPRP? It is very competitive, so it would start with around 169,000 for a family including children, where they choose the leasing option. The approval time, as mentioned before, is very fast. The approval time is of 4 months. We have invested highly as an agency on AI, on technology, to be able to hasten the process, however, never compromising our due diligence. So that is very important. It is stable, so it gives permanent lifelong residency to the beneficiaries of the program. As mentioned earlier as well, it is flexible, so it gives lease or purchase of property. It gives you the choice. You can either purchase, you can either lease, you can start by leasing and then purchasing, and they all have an investment potential. So you can, of course, invest further in property. It is important to know that in Malta, being a very small island, property is a very good investment that gives at around 5 to 8% ROI per annum. It gives mobility, so you can, of course, establish in Malta. You have no minimum requirement of stay in Malta. However, you can travel to the Schengen area, and Malta is also very well connected to North Africa, and I would say to all over the world. So for an investor or a family that has ties with either Europe or North Africa, Malta is a very good option. It gives immediate access. This is also a recent change that we've made, which gives the applicant, this prospective applicant and its family members, a temporary residency card, which is available on day one. So this means that if there is an individual with its family that they have the intention to apply for the MPRP, they can come to Malta, apply for a temporary residence permit, which will grant them a residence permit for 1 year. And during this year, they can decide whether to apply for the MPRP. They can also start collating the documentation. They can see, for example, whether to invest in purchasing or rental. So it gives them really immediate access to Malta. And that has been, this change has been very well taken up by clients because, of course, they can have a taste of Malta immediately. And another very important feature of the MPRP is that it is family friendly, so it covers up to 5 generations. This, I would say, is also very unique to the program, and it's also quite different from other jurisdictions, because what we do is that we include the whole family, which means the main applicant, the spouse, the parents of the main applicant, of the spouse, and the children. However, we go beyond that. So if the children, when they reach a certain age and they get married, they can also include their spouses eventually. And when they have their own children, they can also be included in the application. So we don't just stop at the children. So that is, I would say that it is a lifelong plan for families and investors that would like to relocate to Malta. Now, through the application process, it is a very straightforward process. I would like to emphasize the fact that we have invested highly in technology. So I would say almost the whole process is done online, except, of course, for the final part where the applicants are requested to come to Malta to take their biometric data and to finalize the process. The application starts by choosing a licensed agent. This is also very important. It gives a further peace of mind to the individual, because the licensed agents are either lawyers or accountants, but they are approved by the agency themselves. So that means that when you are choosing a licensed agent, you are choosing a person, a professional that has already been approved by the agency, that has already gone through the due diligence themselves to be able to represent clients. So you would know that they are trustworthy. Then the licensed agent will take care of the application process on behalf of the client. They will apply on behalf of the client. And afterwards, we would conduct a due diligence process of around 4 months. Once complete, the client will receive a letter of approval in principle. The letter of approval in principle will allow the client to come to Malta, take their biometric data, complete all the investments, choose their property, and thereafter we would issue the permanent residence certificate. And based on the permanent residence certificate, we will issue a residence card, for the main applicant and the dependents. So the residence card is issued for 5 years. However, it is renewable thereafter as long as the permanent certificate is in hand. Now I will introduce another program of ours. It's the Nomad Residence Permit. This is also a very popular program for nomads, for freelancers, for entrepreneurs that work remotely, very importantly for a business abroad. So they cannot work for individuals in Malta or companies in Malta. What we offer is a 1-year residence permit that is renewable 3 times, so up to a maximum of 4 years. The individual must earn a gross yearly income of 42,000 euros. The processing time here is very, very competitive as well. In just 30 working days, you would receive an answer from us, and then thereafter you can come to Malta and complete the process. Also, very importantly here, the application process is online. It can be done by the individual themselves directly, or else they can also go through a licensed agent. So it's however they prefer. The application fee is also very competitive. It's just 300 euro plus a 100 euro card fee. Important to note that the 300 euro application fee is for every individual in the application. So if, for example, there is the main applicant, the spouse, and the child, that would be 300 euro per person. What are the requirements? It's very straightforward. They must, of course, have a valid travel document, a health insurance covering risk in Malta and Europe, a rental agreement that covers 1 year, so the duration of the residence permit. They must pass the background verification checks, and they must have a police conduct certificate, which is, of course, clean. Now I'll pass to the last program. It's the Malta Startup Residence Program. This is a program that attracts investors and founders of startups, which are highly innovative meaning highly innovative in Malta, in the context of Malta. This program is managed jointly with Malta Enterprise as well. And what it offers 3-year residence permit to founders and co-founders of non-EU startups, plus a further 5 years. However, it extends also to core employees of the startups and immediate family members. And the idea, of course, is that the startup has the right tools to be able to flourish in Malta. So that is why it is open also to core employees. And after the first 5 years of continuous residence in Malta, since, of course, the aim is that the startup just not remain a startup, but it grows its business in Malta, there is the possibility to apply for a long-term residence permit, which is not managed by Residency Malta, but is managed by a different agency. What are the criteria? The criteria are very straightforward as well. They need to have an investment of at least 25,000 with intangible assets or share capital. The startup must not be older than 7 years globally. It must be, as I said, in innovative sectors, so software, deep tech, life sciences, manufacturing. And these, of course, can be discussed in more detail with both ourselves and Malta Enterprise. And the individuals and the startup must make Malta their primary residence. That is very important. In Malta, we already have a very developed ecosystem for startups. And what are the advantages of applying for this program is that startups will have a direct link also to Malta Enterprise funding, to this startup hub that is already present, and it will have, of course, direct access to the EU market. And the application process is also relatively fast. It takes around 2 to 5 months. And the application fee is of 750 euro per applicant. So this is my presentation. Just to conclude, first of all, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity, and I hope that you found this presentation useful. I try to keep it quite high level, so of course I can give an introduction to Malta and our programs. But if you have further questions, please do not hesitate to contact us through our email address at clientrelations.residencymalta@gov.mt, or you can visit our website, residencymalta.gov.mt, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Roberta, thank you a lot for delivering a presentation. And from my side, I would like to clarify some things about
Yes.
Malta, because definitely over like even what we've noticed during the event preparation, that Malta is definitely gaining traction. And maybe you can share some data year to year. Yeah, now is almost beginning of 2026. Maybe previous year, like 2025, 2024, in number of applications, where is it coming from, what demographics, what are the most requested programs from those that you've mentioned?
Unfortunately, we don't have statistics available, so I wouldn't be in a position to share. But what I can say is that the MPRP is, I would fairly say, is the strongest program that we have, for obvious reasons, because it gives a permanent establishment in Malta. And in terms of demographics, without going into much detail, because I don't have statistics, but I would say Asia is very prominent. But one can also see even Turkey, even the US. Recently, a lot as well from the US. And our second program, the Nomad, is also very popular. I would say it's gaining a lot of prominence as well. But unfortunately, we don't have data available, so I cannot share much.
Is it because data is under NDA, or it's just not available?
It is not available, so I wouldn't be able to give you the data, and then why didn't you give it to someone else? But I don't exclude that in the future we will have data available. So yes.
Okay, noted. And as far as I know, there is also one highly requested program. It's Malta Citizenship by Merit. Could you please expand a little bit more on this?
That I'm not allowed. That I cannot share much data, because that is not the program we administer. So
Okay,
I'm not in
understandable.
a position to explain a lot about that. I'm
Okay,
very sorry.
okay, understandable. But also, as I understand, you're interested to work with agents and with trusted service providers
Yes.
that can promote in some way Malta
Yes.
residency program, and those agents, they can be based even outside of Malta, right?
So the licensed agent need to be based in Malta
Okay.
specifically, but of course they need to have a presence in Malta. So if, for example, an agent has a presence in Malta but is working also with someone outside of Malta, they can do that, as long as there is a reference to the licensed agent. So, for example, a company that is based in the US but is working with a local agent can do so, but always in their marketing material, they have to make reference to the local licensed agent with whom they are working with.
Okay, understandable. That's very clear, a clear point.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you on this. We are going to wrap it
Thank
up.
you.
What you mentioned about Malta residency. Thank you a lot for being a part of Freedom Business Summit
Thank you
2026
for having me.
US edition. Over these 2 days, we actually had speakers that joined us for the second time. So we are definitely keen to collaborate with you in future. We are going to
Amazing.
share all the summary after our 2-day event, all the data that we have, because as we've mentioned, we are focusing on data. We are a data-driven event, so we believe that those numbers they help to make right and high ROI business decisions. And yes, thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating. Thank you for collaborating and contributing in overall global mobility space. Because besides business aspect, I believe what we are doing, it has more meaningful approach as we are helping people
Yes.
basically be more free, and we advising on those applicable strategies, how you can actually buy your freedom, how you can invest in your freedom in a smart
Exactly.
way. And Malta is definitely one of those jurisdictions.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. And as I mentioned before, if you have further questions, even later on, I would be available to answer. So thank you very much. And I hope to see you and many others to Malta very soon. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you for invitation. Thank you,
Thank you.
Roberta. And
Bye.
on this, we are going to wrap up our event for today. We're supposed to have one more speaker, Sandra from Portugal. Unfortunately, she's not able to join the session due to health conditions. But what we are going to do from our side, we are going to make a dedicated presentation. And thank you everyone who attended Freedom Business Summit 2026 US edition. Hope to see you at our upcoming event editions very soon. Stay updated. And thank you for being with us during these 2 days.